Hello. um, so yeah, it looks like I've done the penultimate album before I thought I would, which is bizarre. So it's mainly to do with the fact that I realised I wrote. Oops, there goes my teddy. Oh dear, poor teddy. Anyway, he fell off the seat. But no, so I realised I wanted to send, or I wrote, like a, what do you say, a letter of gratitude to this person who actually is an inspiration of this album. And of course, a lot of the albums on this channel, actually, most of my albums, not most, but a lot of them are about this particular individual. God help me. But anyway, but it was a funny realization that writing the letter of gratitude was actually enough. I thought I wrote it on the presumption that I would send it to him, and the other ones actually that I would send to the other ones, like Little Pharaoh, the Kind One, and of course the Jaguar. But it was enough, it seemed, for me to just write them. I didn't kind of like the music. I realised I just had to write it and perform it and create it, whatever. But I don't think I need to, and I've had, as you've seen throughout this whole thing, this like capriciousness around, do I send it, do I not send it? And I realised actually that I didn't need to send it. That in fact, my feeling of gratitude was enough, and just having to articulate that in, to actually write that down was enough. So I implore all of you, if you're going through a heartbreak or anything like this, or any form of mental destabilization, instead of worrying so much about it and trying to ameliorate its effects or trying to control it in some way, I think gratitude is a good form of a kind of acceptance, because you have to face what it is and then just accept it for what it is, and then be grateful, be thankful that it happened, and that you can learn from it in some way. I think that that's the main point that I've gleaned from this whole experience is exactly that. Like, I don't need to I don't know, like, I don't want to reconnect with these people. They were like shadows in the night. Because I mean to say that it sounds a little, like, dismissive, but actually, if there were going to be anything real, it would have shown itself as a real thing by now. I mean to say, if it was going to be a relationship, if it was going to be a friendship, if it was going to be anything of this accord, it would have, it just would be easy. Like, relationships, jobs, life, friendships, they're supposed to be easy. If they're not easy, then you're desperate. There's a form of desperation to which you're not paying attention to, or you're going, actually, you know what, I'm going to ignore this, and then you're not going with your instincts. So for me, like, all of them, like, none of them, I mean to say, are, like, easy. They're all, I mean, very few relationships I have are actually easy in any capacity, because I'm very satirical, I'm very humorous, my whole identity is in this way kind of very, like, English, in that sense that it's nothing I say is exactly what I mean. I mean, it is a lot of the time, like with my music. What I say a lot of the time, again though, there is those times when it's not, but most of the time, I am very adamant about what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is what I'm saying. There is no bullshit about it. But sometimes you kind of, it's not bullshit even, I feel like, when I'm doing it. It's more just I'm teasing, I'm flirting. It's more flirtation or a teasing or a kind of like, yeah, like a dance, like a butterfly dancing. It's not really something that's serious. And I think, unfortunately, through this process, though, like through all of these men and whatever, I became quite serious, because I felt too much, too deeply, too fast. To coin a sentence. And yeah, and now I realize, you know what? I gotta wear makeup, baby, because it reminds me that life is just fucking absurd. Like, It's just absurd. Like, it's absurd. Like, all the shit that we worry about as people, as humans. And I also realize I'm just like everyone else. You know, I just want to be unashamedly human. That's what this whole channel is about. All this music, all of it. It's about me being a person, not a pretense, not, I don't know, like, not something which is contrived. I feel very much that, no, that's not the case. That's why the music is so naive. Of course I could make much better music. Of course I could make it very developed and symphonic and lush and all this stuff. But that's not the point. The point for me right now, maybe in the future will be, but for right now, the point for me is, one take, one composition, to play it once and see what happens. That's why I have these. For me, it's like real perfection lies in the attempt at perfection, but the imperfections, the flaws in the fabric, the flaws in the gold, the flaws in the diamond. Those are things that are interesting. The flaws in the person, right? Those things are interesting. That's what you fall in love with. That's what feels real, authentic, not plastic, fantastic bullshit. And that's what I'm about, I mean, that's what this whole thing is about. I didn't realize, I did and I didn't, fully, realize and then realize, right? We know the difference. Realizing in your head precedes, generally, realizing in your heart. And I think that that's, for me, what I've realized, now I feel free, I feel like I'm just completing this album called Bekku to Meke, because it's my, I'm Bekku, and he's Meke, and it's that sort of thing where I'm like, if he never listens to it, that's fine. If he listens to it on some off weird chance that he somehow finds it, well, shit, I mean, hello, please don't be insulted by it. It's not an insult, it's a celebration of you. And of me, I guess, and of life, of being alive, and being whatever, baby. And I think that that's what's really beautiful, about life. You only get one shot, and why be pulled and lead your life with fear when you can leave it with love? Because I'd rather be. I know that, for example, people ask me, well, how are you so secure in your masculinity? Sometimes they ask me this, friends and stuff like this, or just other homosexuals, I mean. And I said, well, because I'm not afraid to have sex with a woman, that's not for me a problem at all. I mean, that's, whatever, I don't at all, I haven't for a long time, but if the opportunity arose, I would be more than able. No, but that's not the point. The point rather is that masculinity is a construct, right? And I go to myself, well, actually, most women, most people, irrespective of their genitalia, want sensitivity. They want gentle. Think of it, the coolest people or the most interesting people aren't raging crazy, misogynists or masochists or machismists. Ooh, 3 M's. That was a good alliteration, wasn't it, baby? They're very gentle and they're very strong in that sort of non-presumptuous way. There's no pretense, not like American bombast and bullshit, where it's yeah, I'm really, I got all this, I got muscles and stuff. No, that's not. Having muscles does not generally get you anywhere close to real life, real intimacy, real vulnerability. Because you've got muscles, you're probably trying to pertain yourself not to be a vulnerable person. Which means, of course, that women, if you're a straight man, which most men are straight, most women are straight, okay. So, on that presumption, most men, why they're having a hard time is because they completely misunderstand what women want. Which is not muscles and brawn, in the sense. Even in tribal societies, even in these brutal societies, that in the world, they don't want that. They want a tender-hearted individual who is gentle, who can raise children. I don't think muscle queens raise children very well. Just thinking logically about it. And so I feel that's the thing for me. I don't feel like I need to prove anything to. And this is the thing I also realize. Most men are proving not themselves to women. They couldn't give a fuck. They couldn't give a fuck about women. That's what's really misogynistic. That it's like a subliminal. They don't even know that what they're doing in a way is essentially, it's not misogynistic because it's not a behaviour they're actually actively doing. It's conscious, and so it's not a hate thing. But by default, by like just going with gravity, as it were, it's kind of misogynistic because you go, well, but surely women are like after like a man who can listen to her when she's vulnerable and then respond in kind, you know, and be vulnerable also. And I think that's why you have this rise, especially in the West, and I mean all over the world really, throughout history. It comes in cycles like everything in history and life. In nature, nature's cyclical, but of men who are or affect or have effeminacy, or it's called effeminacy, which I think is also bullshit. I think it's more that men get in touch with their femininity, not the sort of, I don't know what you call it, like this kind of weird conflation between feminism and a kind of, neo-romantic idea. But no, I mean the eternal feminine, this thing which is primordial, vulnerable, and essentially it means being open, which is very hard for a man to do because they've got a, and so that doesn't really open. I mean, it just goes up or down. That's it. But women, of course, open. And so I think there's a certain intimacy. Of course, there's intimacy, and there's a vulnerability which precedes intimacy. Most people, most of the world, most of history, most of the time, when you have relations with, in that regard, heterosexual relations. And I think that's what I realise more and more, is that I would sum up my existence in the sexual sense as a perfect homosexual, in the sense that I'm aesthetically camp, I can talk the queer dialectic, all the rest of it. I can enunciate myself as a flamer. Par excellence, don't you worry, baby, shit. But when it comes to something I think more fundamental, more deep, more primeval, more authentic, I feel like a failed heterosexual, because everything about me is very feminine. Okay, so that's not to say that I want to be a woman. In fact, I don't want to be female-bodied in this sense, because I see it in my sisters, I've seen it in my mother, I've seen it in my friends, I've seen it in my cousins, I've seen it what it is to be a woman. To be a girl precedes being a woman, in the same way that vulnerability precedes intimacy, in the true sense, the authentic, true, real sense. And I think that that's the thing I realised, that I could never be, even if I transitioned, I could never be a woman. I want to caveat, I don't want that. I'm quite secure in my masculinity. I'm quite happy having a penis, thank you very much. But having a penis is not a threat to my femininity. And I think that's a really important thing to realise yourself as a person, as a man, and the flip for a woman, having a vagina is no threat to their masculinity, actually. And I think that's, really in many respects what first, second, and fourth wave feminism is sort of very much about. But I don't want to get into dialectics of feminism right at this conjuncture, if that's all right. But I think it's that thing where, with this music, coming back to the music, which is what this channel's really about, that I've had to, really be very vulnerable, no? Like, all of these songs are very vulnerable. They're very simple. They're very bedroom, not even pop, fuck. I don't know what they are. We're in sort of like, like a midnight bedroom cabaret. I don't know, right? It's so bizarre. But the vulnerability of that, I mean to say, is very authentic. I think very authentic. I am being very open with you, the viewer, the listener, whatever. And in a way that I don't think many YouTubers are. I mean, maybe some are. I don't know. I don't watch that much YouTube, to be fair with you. But I think, I'm like this in life. if I, obviously, on the, knowing someone or trusting someone enough to be able to do that. But I feel like I'm very sort of getting more open. I don't think I was before much in the past, but I think through this process of creating music and really like putting my heart on my hand, on my sleeve even, my hand actually. And it's not masochistic, I thought for a long time it was in a way masochistic, but I don't think so actually. I think I'm just doing it because it's more about myself. It's an entirely selfish exercise. I'm trying to learn about myself. and trying to be better at being myself. I want to become what I see inside. I want my subjectivity to become my total self. I don't want to make my subjectivity into an object per se, and I don't wish to be the object of other people's whatever, adoration, sexual pleasure, commodification. That doesn't interest me. To create myself as an object for other people's consumption, which is most what basic human psychology is really about in society with other people. I will dance at midnight in an empty street. I have. I will dance in a full club. I have. I did just a few days ago. But for me, it's really imperceptible, the difference. I don't care. I'm not doing it. I'm not dressing. I'm not wearing makeup. I'm not wearing these clothes for other people to go, wow, that's amazing. If they say that, or wow, that's shit, I'm going to kill you, or I punch you, or whatever. If they do that and say that, okay, well, that's what it is. Shit, that's reality. But it's not something I'm thinking when I put on my clothes. It used to be. I'm not gonna lie to you. It used to be. But now I go, actually, I don't need that. I don't need that sort of input. You know, the opinions of others are none of my business, baby. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't, yeah. And as you know, for me, my two major inspirations in this life are Valley Myers and Quentin Crisp, because both of them lived these idiosyncratic, highly iconoclastic, highly individualistic lives. They're cult figures for the reasons of that. They could never be commodified into the mainstream because they're not really acceptable. Like, they're just not acceptable in many respects. They're controversial in many respects, and they're also highly intuitive people. I mean, Valley, of course, more so than Chris, but nevertheless, and I feel like, for myself, I feel the son of them. I feel like I am their offspring, their spiritual offspring, their intellectual, instinctual offspring, let's say. For me, that's how I feel. And they're the two lodestars, very much, in my artistic, creative life. As for music, I mean, music, shit, that's obvious who my inspiration for music is. But in terms of life and integrating that with the music and my creativity and my bohemianness, I just realized that even yesterday, right? I'm a bohemian. Like, I am, in that conventional word, what's conventionally understood to be bohemian. I am that, and more, because I myself also. But I look at how Valley dressed, or I look at how Crisp dressed, and I go, shit, you know, I dressed like that. I dressed like that before I knew who they were. Do you know what I mean? And then I found out who they were, and it's a way of, you get more chic at the articulation of that style, or of that way of styling yourself, because you begin to see echoes and pieces of it, splinters of it, within myself, within my own soul, within my own subjectivity. And when I draw my portraits, my little paint, I call them PP, paint portraits, on just a piece of paper, like butcher's paper or whatever, every day, almost every day, I always draw myself with a little, like, Valley, like a little moustache. Again, though, I did that when I was, like, I don't know, 12, before I even knew who she was. You know, 14, 16, 20. And I have, you know, dots, and, like, little dots, and then I have my face done with makeup, and I have my glasses. I always have my glasses. And I have a little, like, flower, or I have, like, a scarf. And so I have these accoutrements, which I guess could be taken from, and they are, in some respect, sure, taken from people that precede me. They're my ancestors in this regard. You know, and no one lives in isolation. No creative person is original. They are all just very good thieves. But yeah, so for me, it's like that, and coming towards the end of this record, which for me is, as I said, the penultimate in many respects. It's the reason why I created music, began to do music. Actually, this record, Bekku to Meke, which means cat to goat. It is my, I don't know if it's like the old, like, I'm not going to stop making music because I make it, but I'm just to say, like, it's the reason I started music when I hit my head at my friend's place, right here, in 2020, during the lockdown, and I was being vaguely illegal, and visiting someone, and I went and did that, and then I woke up the next morning and scrawled out in red ink a poem, which became, it did not become a song yet, but it became the sort of jumping point for all of these things. Novel, play, la la la, poem collections, la la la, stolen moments, Iridescent Panther, of course. Now, Bekku to Meke. I mean, probably also another one which will be called Smile. Um, it's become, and then that cascaded into all these other things. You know, all these other people that I had met after that, and inspired in me this profound creativity, which I don't know if I can like lay my creativity at the feet of like being knocked in the head, but I mean, fuck, maybe that's how the muse gets to you, right? I don't know, maybe you just get knocked on the head and you're just like, well, that changed my entire perspective on reality. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious. I don't think, of course, that's the case. I was already highly creative beforehand, but it was just, I think it was more just that realization again that, you know, you can die at any moment. You know, it really doesn't take much to kill a person, actually. And if you hit your head hard enough, yeah, you can die of an aneurysm. You can die of whatever, a blood clot in your brain. Very easy. People die all the time from this particular thing. Or a heart attack or whatever, you know, like your body as you get older is more and more fragile. And especially when you go through so much trauma and pain, you know, because the endocrine system, the immune system, your whole body is integrated with the mind and the body. This idea that they're separate is erroneous. It's completely untrue. So yeah, that's why you feel so intensely. That's why you feel like butterflies or shiver up your spine. We say your blood turns cold like ice. It's because it doesn't actually do that, of course, but that's telling you a lot about how integrated your body is with your mind, and actually how much power both things have together, and your mind especially. And so it's like that for me. I need to exercise a lot of this. Exercise to mean like to purge, like exorcism, to get it out of me. And I think that's what I'm doing. And I think this is actually a really big thing for me to actually create this album. Actually, like it was at Iridescent Panther was my first real attempt, and well, actually, Stolen Moments was, but Iridescent was my real first attempt, and then this is going to be the other one. It won't be like Iridescent Panther. It won't be that sort of experimental, ambient sort of one. It's not going to be of that caliber, that nature. This one is more, I think, raw and authentic, and I think these are songs, you know, I've sat on for a good 2-3 years now. You know, I wrote them, I put them away, and then I put them under my bed, and then I pulled them out a few months ago when I started to actually start really doing music. And here we are, baby, you know, shit. 3 years later. Finally getting around to it. It takes time, eh? You know, you gotta like work your way up. And I'm by no means a musician. By no means would I ever say I'm a musician or a singer or anything like this. Even a poet, I wouldn't say I'm a poet. Anything like this. These words are just meaningless anyway. It's like it's just meaningless to me. They're just labels. But at the end of it, I hope you listen to it. I hope it inspires you to create music, even if you can't. And don't let society or people telling you what is music, what isn't, what is creativity, what isn't, what is lyrics or poetry and what isn't, stop you. Do it. Do it. Or at least try it. Just write one song, or write one word, or write one sentence on a piece of paper. It will change your life. Believe me, it will change your life if you want it to. If you feel that that's your trajectory, if you feel that that's going to infuse your soul and allow you to radiate love and tenderness and sweetness and kindness and all these good things that everyone wants, and if it allows you to lead your life with love rather than fear or rather than hate or rather than sadness or anger, then do it. Do it. You can transform yourself. Turn, like I'm trying to do, turn the sea of darkness into an ocean of light inside you. You know, the journey to the interior is the only real travel you ever need to do in your life. It's the only one that ever matters, ultimately, anyway. So, yeah, anyway. Thanks for listening, and yeah, the album should be, I think, hopefully uploaded today, tomorrow, and I've got one last song to sort of perform, record. But yeah, thank you for listening, and keep smiling and keep creating. Okay, bye.